Hi, Tamika. All right. I'm going to share screen and we're just going to go over the ecological assessment. Hi. That you submitted on your client. All right. And I'm going to go over feedback. And in going over feedback, I'm going to be modeling how to provide like a feedback loop. So when you're working with a supervisee trainee in the future, you'll follow the same flow of like a feedback process. So it'll be what the person did correct in the demonstration or the task or whatever the skill is. It's what diagnostic, what you didn't see identified or what may have been omitted or not demonstrated at the performance criterion, and then corrective, what would then they should do instead next time to bring that performance up to accurate. So it'll be a 3-part process, and I'll just model that for you. Okay. And then we'll go into this case. So this is for an ecological inventory assessment we're working on for a patient as part of skill sets involved in individualized assessments. And so this is a informal tool that's not standardized that we use to augment for learners to ensure we're capturing all the relevant skills for their particular environments that they need to function in. So this is what you submitted for me. So I'll just review this and give you, first I'll let you know what I see that is accurate, that would meet the component parts of an ecological assessment. So the things that I see that look clear and that are included are you've identified what I would call is the portion, this was called a discrepancy analysis, or her current performance of component parts within the environment of the school. You've identified several areas of which her performance may not align with what's within the norm or typical population or her peers that are in that environment. So I see that that is clearly identified, and you've got a lot of very well-written, observable, measurable behaviors here. And it looks like you've got different environments cataloged, including group behaviors as well. Do you have any questions so far? Can you hear me? Okay, I think I lost you, but we'll keep going for the sake of the recording. We'll keep going. So those are the things that are accurate. The main component parts.
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Are that you have clearly identified discrepancies in her performance. So that looks really well, and you've written them very clearly in objective behaviors that would help us then determine what to do next in relation to intervention. Now, I'm going to toggle off this and go to a rubric that I'm using to show you what I see is not clearly identified in the form you provided. So when we're doing an ecological inventory assessment, we want to be clear about the environment. So the environment we're in, and then the sub-environment, and then the behaviors or the activities within that sub-environment. And so when we're looking, so those are things, the component parts that I didn't see in the tool you provided, where it was a cohesive link of those 3-part processes, where it's environment, sub-environment, and then activity. And then within the activity, you did a beautiful job with discrepancy analysis, where you had where those performances were not aligning with what would we expect, or what the teacher in that case expected the performance to look like. And so those are the main components that I didn't see as like a linear breakdown within a structured process, so that each environment was clearly organized by sub-environment and then activity. And so, for example, like recess would be a sub-environment, and activity would be play skills, like on unstructured play skills, or use of playground equipment would be an example, another activity that would occur. And I'll even show you another example. Here is another tool I pulled up, which I thought was a really clear example of, you've got the community as the domain, the environment as a grocery store called Kroger's, and the activity is purchasing an item. And so you can see here, you have the sub-environments, and then you have the behaviors involved that would sort of then allow for you to do the discrepancy analysis. And so basically from the tool you provided, you've got sort of the discrepancy components, but what you want to see is kind of the full sequences needed to support whatever how do those discrepancy behaviors align to a larger activity, like functional activity, or meaningful skill or behavior that needs to be accomplished. And so then finally, corrective, how do we kind of take what you've submitted? We've identified the diagnostic components. And so correcting that, what we would want to do instead is next time, I'll provide you a template, like a different template, and then I'll have you work through with a tool, and I'll set up a framework for you, which I've started. I've developed a tool that we can use, and what I'll do is I want you to try using this next time. Well, I'll set this up for you so you can kind of go through it systematically. So I've got it prepped up. So try this instead as a way to kind of help guide your behavior, where you can pull in. And so you've got a lot of information. So for example, I pulled this in and put the environment, the sub-environment, the early learner worksheets as the activity, and then the discrepancy analysis, where you had a lot of good information from the teacher, where we could identify where that would fall within the chain. So we can see maybe there's 10 component parts, and then we can see, okay, she can't do 4 of them really well, right? And then that allows us to say, okay, 40%, 60% is doing beautiful, and then 40% we need to try to identify what the strategy is to, whether it's modification, accommodation, or direct instruction, whatever that needs to be to help her meet that performance. And if it's something we can do. So that is my suggestion in relation to correcting and helping you hit the fully accurate performance. Do you have any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll do some modeling for you, and we'll continue working on this, and I'll be excited to check in next time and look at your next submission.
Stay connected to Greenspace Behavior, where the possibility is always yes. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook. Check us out, www.greenspacebehavior.com.